Fair warning, the story I'm about to read is very triggering, especially for anyone who has been stalked or abused or had a toxic domestic abuse, any of that, because this does not end well, and it's haunting. I like adding some horror elements and creepiness to my stories, even in my romance. That's why I write dark fantasy romance, dark paranormal romance. There's even moments that I could easily say in the Honey Cummings humor stuff, it gets kind of dark and creepy at times because it's fun to play with emotions, especially yours, my precious readers. And so here I am, and I'm going to read, like I said, I'm going to read a lot of short stories out of Val's House of Musing, and trust me, I am not even scratching the surface of what craziness and chaos I've added into this. But this was the older one that I wrote, playing around with an idea of a creepy story. I don't even think I submitted this one to anything, but there's something about the imagery this one has, and it sort of starts with a bang and ends sort of like, gives you the chills, in my opinion. So without further ado, I will be reading In Life and in Death. The mirror fell from the wall and shattered into a million shards. Silver daggers bounced and sparkled, raining across the tile floor. Janie panted. She threw the jade frog across the room with everything she had and hit her target. The coin from its mouth pinged, spinning and wobbling to a stop. Broken chunks of jade slammed hard against the tile, cracking it. "Go away!" she shrieked, tears falling from her face. Her knees were shaking as she slid to the floor in defeat. With each sob, her shoulders shook. Mascara streaked down her face like a map of the Nile River. She clenched her teeth. Flashes of his ghostly image just behind her shoulder sent goosebumps across her skin. Her stomach twisted. No matter where she went, he was there in the mirrors, writing messages when she took a shower, whispering in her ear, and touching her when she slept. It was beyond haunting. "How many houses have I moved to? How many?" she gasped between sobs. "And you still follow me?" Glancing down at the reflective shards, she saw him smile. His lips mouthed, "I love you, Janie." Red and blue flashed across the room from the window. The curtain and rod had fallen, lying disheveled across the couch. Smashing her palms against her eyes, she shook her head. No, she screeched. "You're dead. Yeah, I've already told you I don't love you." Boom, boom, boom. "This is the police," a voice roared through the locked door, his tag reading Daniel. "Is everything all right? We were told there was a disturbance in the area and are checking in on you and your neighbors." "Go away," she wailed. She swiped her arm across the tile, sending the shards flying. Blood smudged the floor and jagged reflections stuck into her flesh. She could feel her blood slither down her arm like hot snakes of rage and frustration. Tugging at her hair, her mind was too far broken to hear the knocking and shouting from the police. Her stare was fixated on his image in the tiny bits. He sighed and walked away, someplace beyond the reflection of the tiny pieces. At the door, the police fell quiet at the sound of movement behind the door. The sliding, unchaining, and flipping of 5 locks made it clear someone was opening the door for them. With a twist of a doorknob, the police watched the door open and found no one there. They hesitated, looking at one another in confusion. "Someone opened the door for us, right?" Daniel's partner, Thomas, asked, but saw Daniel's paling face. "I knocked." Daniel's eyes fell to the chaos of a room turned upside down. "We're coming in. If you need help, please tell us where you are." "Why?" Janie no longer took the commotion around her. "Why are you still here?" "Christ, she's a mess." Thomas turned on his heel, dashing back to the door to wave the paramedics in. Leaning into his shoulder, he relayed the information. "We have a white female in her 20s with multiple lacerations. There seems to have been a domestic altercation. Suspect is still unknown at this time." Ma'am, I'm Officer Daniel. Are you okay? Is he still here? Her lips trembled as she turned her head, realizing an actual person had touched her arm. He's dead, she whispered. I killed him. Officer Daniel swallowed, braving his next question. Where's the body? Janie's face twisted, her pupils large and wild. In his coffin now. He shook his head, the answer not adding up. Coffin? I killed him months ago. Her fingers unfolded, releasing from her hair. With the taser. I didn't know he had a heart condition. I didn't know he would. Tears were pouring forth once more, her teeth chattering. Die? Questioned Officer Dan, trying to put the broken story together in his mind. No. Her trembling stopped, her brow folding with anger and frustration. That Charles would fucking haunt me the rest of my life. He covered half his face, wondering exactly how crazy the girl was. Ma'am, what's your name? Janie Varrock. The gurney wheels clacked against the door stoop, startling her. What's happening? Why are they here? Janie, you're bleeding. It seems you have glass stuck in your arms. They're here to take care of you and get you all bandaged up. Oh, I am bleeding. She had slipped back into the absent-minded fog once more. Officer Dan took a step back, flipped open his cell phone, and dialed Detective Harvey. He should be doing paperwork today. Knowing him, he's waiting for a distraction to not drown in it tonight. Detective Harvey, how can I help you? Hey, Harv, it's me, Danny. Looking over his shoulder, he saw Janie had a vacant stare on her face, and he stepped out of the house to discover what on earth was happening. I need your help. I've got a bizarre case, and I can't decide if she's suffering from trauma or something actually happened tonight. What do you have on a file for a Janie Varrock? Of course, you know I love an excuse to procrastinate. Harv chuckled, the sounds of a keyboard clacking, echoing through the phone. Let's see, Janie Varrock. Here we go. Man. She's got a lot here involving a Charles Bentley. What kind of stuff with Charles? Daniel was feeling sick, a cold sweat washing over him. Christ, he stalked her relentlessly. Sexual harassment charges, restraining orders in 3 states, domestic violence reports. It seems she put a stop to it when she hit the stalker with a taser and he died. Says here she woke up when he touched her arm, pulled the taser from where she kept it under her pillow, and turns out the fucker had a heart condition and he died instantly. Oh, wait. Daniel covered his mouth, mumbling, what is it? She's been calling about him still. He could hear Harvey's mouse clicking. She's moved over 13 times, been sent to the mental hospital for evaluation multiple times. In this last report, she claims he's haunting her now. Ha! What a loon. I see. Daniel was quiet, his mind wandering back. Who opened the door? All 5 locks, undone and open, so we could get inside to help her. Let me get back to this. Thanks for the information. It's helpful. Glad to know I'm not looking for a dead body. Right. When you get back, come see me and tell me about it. I'm curious now. And with that, Daniel ended the call. They just loaded her into the ambulance. Are we following or looking for a body? Thomas put his hands on his hips, watching the paramedic close the ambulance doors. No body. Close up her house and let's follow. Sliding his cell into his pocket, he searched for answers. Who opened the door? It couldn't be, could it? Lights flashing and sirens blaring, Officer Daniel and Thomas followed close behind the ambulance. They were almost at the hospital. It was the last stretch. The brake lights on the ambulance lit up, tires squealing. Daniel slammed on his own brakes, turning the wheel to land in the median, and the engine died. He watched the ambulance as it swerved and then sped up toward the retention pond. His stomach soured. The ambulance made a hard jerk of the wheel. It pivoted, the weight too much, and it began rolling down the slope. Kasploosh! It hit the water, a huge white plume splashing upward as the ambulance started to sink. Holy shit! Thomas was scrambling to unbuckle the car from the car, unable to start. Officer Daniel abandoned the car, running full steam. The driver was sitting white-faced on the asphalt with the road rash bleeding across his cheek and elbow. Officer Daniel continued toward the ambulance, where the two paramedics were swimming to shore, choking on water. The last corner of the ambulance sunk under, the lights fighting to stay on, flickering under the dark water. "Where's the girl?" shouted Officer Daniel, pulling off his boots and jacket. "Where's Janie?" "Strapped to the gurney," sputtered one of them, clawing up the slope. Officer Daniel grabbed his knife, clamping it in his teeth. He dove into the unknown, swimming fast and hard. Adrenaline fueled him, and he dove down to the open doors below. Before he could reach them, before he could swim through the threshold, they slammed closed. The force pushed him back, and he saw Charles in the window, his smile and eyes frightening. Officer Daniel's lungs were stinging. He needed to go back for air. Glaring at the ghostly apparition, he saw his lips move, and Daniel knew he had gotten what he sought. "She's mine." Breaking the surface, he gasped for air, swimming back to shore. There, they all waited. The doors closed and locked. He felt sick. Even in death, Janie's stalker had gotten his prize. An icy wind rushed over them, causing them all to pale. Some part of them all knew what it meant. "He was there, in the road," mumbled the ambulance driver. "I thought I was avoiding a bystander, but..." "Charles," whispered Daniel. "He was a ghost or something," he continued, panic written across his face. "He went through the hood of the car, and when he was even with the cab, he pushed me out. He drove the fucking ambulance into the pond, I swear it." Another cold gust pushed through them, silence taking hold. It shattered. An agonizing wail filled the air, shattering their souls. Even Janie's ghost would be stalked to the ends of earth. Yeah, so that's a very triggering story. So I'll put a warning in the front of this. But that is one of my creepy stories. Happy spooky